started, so we'll stay on time. And by the way, the clock on the wall is an hour late. We didn't realize that till this morning, so we apologize for that. No confusion, it is about 11:50, not 12:50. But if you will all join me in the pledge, if you'll stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can be seated. So, I think everyone knows who I am at this point, but I am Ellen Palmer with the Perry Chamber, and glad you all here. Glad that we could still do this at least partly in person. For those that are not aware or could not be here, that are at your work or friends, we are doing this Facebook Live, and we'll also have a link to share later if they could not be here today. So we don't want anyone to miss out on this great luncheon we have every year. So we can't do these events without our sponsors, so we definitely want to recognize them and give them a second to say a few words. So we want to thank AT&T, Parish Construction Group, and Synovus for sponsoring this event. So I believe AT&T, he is not here, Stan Shepard, but we do thank him for his support. Rick Sutton, if you could come up from Parish and say a few words.
Thanks, Ellen. Thank you, Perry Chamber, for the opportunity of Parish to sponsor today's State Community Luncheon. And we're just proud to be from Parish. We're celebrating our 25th year in business and looking back over the 25 years where we started down on Ball Street, 3 employees and a black Ford Bronco to where we're at today with over 130 employees. A third of those live here in Houston County and working on projects from $20,000 to $65 million across the state, whether it's healthcare, educational facilities, and we realized we couldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the Perry Chamber and the Houston County area. We really just want to say thank you to all y'all for the continued support. Look forward to 25 more years. Thank y'all.
All right, with Synovus, we're going to have Ron White will come up and speak to us.
Thank you, Ellen. I know we're all ready to be done with these, and I can't wait until we can look back in fond memory of where these on a regular basis. I'm just going to take a minute. You know, we're all here for the same thing. This is just a neat event. And so I just want to take just a few minutes. And I guess I'll just start by saying, you know, 2020 is a challenging, unusual time for the financial industry. You know, but I'm proud of the way that Synovus has stepped up. You know, our bank was really built for this kind of a situation and for our community. So we're embedded in the community. You know, we know our customers. We're focused on what's going on, how to assess issues, and how to help. And to that end, what I'll tell you is that in Middle Georgia, we did 216 PPP loans, that's Paycheck Protection Program loans, totaling over $28 million. You know, we continue to monitor the public health to make sure our protocols in our branch are safe for our customers and they're also safe for our teammates. And then, of course, you know, as it relates to the community, you know, it's our job to support the community and all that we do. So we're proud to support a vital piece of what y'all do at the Perry Chamber and the other organizations that make this such a good community to live, work, play, and work. And so I'm just grateful for everybody that's here, grateful for y'all. Thank you for everything. On behalf of the entire Synovus team, I want to thank you for all that you do in the community. Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to introduce Scott Cox. He is our Governmental Affairs Chair, Vice Chairman, soon to be Chairman of the Chamber, and wears a lot of hats. So we appreciate all he does, and he's going to come up and introduce the panel to you guys.
Well, welcome. It's so good to have this event. It's good to really get to know what's going on in the community, especially with a lot of us that are either doing our work a little bit differently and getting in touch with people, and we can do it safely. And thank you for following all the rules of the CDC. Wish we could have everybody that's out there on Facebook here and being able to network, but it's just not that part of the times, right? Again, thank you for coming. What I'd like to do is introduce our panel of distinguished guests that we're going to talk about our community. First of all, I would like to invite Colonel Brian Moore with the Air Force Base. He's with the 78th Air Base Wing. He's their commander. And this is may be your last State of the Community, right? You may be, this summer he'll be up. So anyway, if you'll take your seat at the thing. Thank you. I'd also like to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mark Scott, with the Houston County Board of Education. Our Houston County Board of Commissioners Chairman, Tommy Stalnaker. The Mayor of our illustrious city, Mr. Randall Walker. Mayor Randall Walker. Another one of my bosses. From the Houston County Development Authority, the Director, Angie Gheesling. And we can't do this event without our moderator. I don't know how many years you've been doing this, Mr. Walker, but we appreciate all that you do for us, and it makes it very, very interesting. Angie asked me if he was going to ask me surprise questions today, and I didn't know. Sometimes he does, right? Mr. Larry Walker.
See my mask. I just got it. I'm real proud of it. Janice and I both graduates of Perry High School, graduated in 1960. Yeah, I'm not old. We love Perry High School. I'm proud to say that I was a point guard on the 1959-1960 Perry basketball team. I would tell you that Coach Staples coached 36 years. He had one losing season, and I was on it. Nonetheless, Mark, I'm still proud that I played at Perry High School. Janice was a basketball player, a homecoming queen, and she was probably the best basketball player that the girls had, which is not saying a whole lot, but it's the truth. You can probably say. I want to say to you how much I've enjoyed this. I wish I knew how long we have been doing this. It started at Rosa Park, I believe. Mayor Worrell was there, and I don't know how many years Mayor Worrell did it. And then we did it under Jimmy Faircloth as far as the Mayor of Perry is concerned. And I think Jimmy was mayor about 10 years, and then Randall Walker has come. I have been out of the legislature 16 years, and I believe that I was still in the legislature when we started this, but I'm not certain of it. And but I as much as I enjoy it, I hear Daddy whispering in my ear. He says to me, "Larry's a smart man that knows when to put something down." So I say to you, as much as I've enjoyed it, and I hope I get invited back so I can observe, but this will be my last time to moderate this. I've learned a lot from this. I think when you come, you do learn a lot. We learned a lot about Houston County, even more about Perry, and I learned this. This is one of the best places in the United States to live, and I really do believe that. What do y'all think about that? I would not want to live anywhere else. why is it such a good place? Number one, I think we have excellent elected officials. I don't believe that they're any better anywhere. And with having said that, I would like for everybody that got elected, whether you were an incumbent or whether it's your first time, that if you got elected last Tuesday, please, this past Tuesday, please stand up so everybody can see you. And don't sit down yet. If you are an elected official that did not get elected last Tuesday, please stand up and let us see you. Is anybody? There we go. There we go. Now these are outstanding. I've been all over this state. I've spoken all over this state. And these are outstanding, without exception, elected officials. And they're smart enough to know that the way for us to prosper is for them to cooperate with each other. And they cooperate with each other. That's extremely important, and I hope they're in this for the right reason. They're in it for the right reason. We're extremely proud of all of you, and thank you very much for standing. Another reason that we're blessed and living in a wonderful place, of course, is Robins Air Force Base. The ultimate first responders. And I just can't tell you how important I think that is for this community. And I think we need to, anybody that's associated with Robins needs to stand up, and we need to give them a real big round of applause. And please stand. We have great public schools. If you don't have good public schools, you cannot be a good community. That's number one. When people talk about whether they're going to move to Houston County or not, the first thing they think about, if they've got children or grandchildren, is do they have good public schools? We have outstanding public schools. Mark Scott, thank you so much. Best employer in the state of Georgia. I mean, I thought that had to come out of the Atlanta area. I didn't know they even looked at somebody down there in the picture. But let's give the great public schools in Houston County a big hand. We have great infrastructure. Our road system is just outstanding in all respects. And I think the man that is most responsible for that, and we have it in the cities too, not just in the county, but I do think that, and of course, we're in the county and the city if you live inside of Perry. We're not just, because we live in the city limits of Perry, you live in the city limits of Perry, doesn't mean you're not in the county, you are. But I think there are a lot of people, we've got a lot of people that are responsible for that, but this is the man that came up through the system. He was in charge of public works. He knows about the roads. And that's Tommy Stalnaker. And I think we need to give Tommy a big hand on that. And lastly, I want to say something I don't ever hear mentioned much, but I think it's important. I think it's real important. I hope that most of you will agree with it. It's the influence that the churches have on this community. There are a lot of places you can go and live that the churches don't have much influence, frankly. They've got a lot of influence in Houston County, and I think that's extremely important. I spent a lot of my time lately, I think it says a lot about me, but I've spent a lot of my time lately going through old stuff. I don't know whether any of y'all are to that point in life or not, but I've spent a lot of time going through old stuff. And I found this, and I'd forgotten I had it, and I'm very proud of it. Ben Franklin's Wit and Wisdom. And I'll tell you what I wrote in the front of it. This little book that belonged to my high school English teacher, Florence Harrison, was given to me by Charles Harrison, the executor of the estate of Willis Harrison, after the death of Mr. Harrison. Willis was the husband of Florence, who died first. Florence taught me in the 12th grade. She taught me to learn, she taught me to love to read. I've read 31 books this year already. every word of every book. I think it's a big part of my life. And she was an outstanding, she's in the Hall of Fame, Mark, Miss Harrison. And there are people in here that should have said amen when I said that, because some of you would talk about her performance. But I want to read you just three little of Brother Ben Franklin's wit and wisdom. Some of it is applicable to today, and some of it is not. Mr. Franklin said this: God works wonders now and then. Behold, a lawyer and an honest man. Thought I'd get that out of the way. I know some of you questions out there anyway. Okay. Here's another one. Keep your eyes wide open before marriage, half shut afterwards. I think that's pretty true. Huge, And last, and this is for the panelists, now y'all listen carefully to this. There's a time limit on this thing. I've talked too long. I've talked longer today than I've ever talked before because I'm not coming back. The crowd's getting smaller. That's one reason I'm not coming back. But I want y'all to listen to this now. I might have to read it twice. A slip of the foot you may soon recover, but a slip of the tongue you may never get over. Y'all bear that in mind. 2 minutes, Tommy, 2 minutes. We're going to get a signal when you're 1.5 minutes into it. And I know I've taken more than my share of the time today, and I won't ever do it again, I promise. But try to keep it to 2 minutes, because if you multiply 2 minutes times 3 questions times 1, 2, 3, however many it is, 5 people, 4 people, 5, that's a pretty good bit of time. They're going to be tired of y'all by then. They're going to be wanting you to... I've never gone to any church service, any graduation, anything where the people came out and say, that man didn't talk long enough. I'll bear that in mind. Let's start with Mayor Walker. Outstanding mayor of the city of Perry. We're fortunate to have Randall Walker, and Randall Walker is fortunate to have the city of Perry. Start with Mayor Walker. How is the city of Perry planning to address future growth?
That's a very interesting question, because, you know, Perry has had what I would call managed growth over the last 20 years. Where population in 2000 was about 9,500. We're at about 20,000. So over 20 years, we've gained about 10,000 people, but that's fixing to change, and change quickly. Perry is the 7th fastest growing city in the state. It's the 110th fastest growing city in the nation. So we're looking, our estimates are that we're going to see about 35,000 people living here over the next 10 years, in the year 2030. So as we prepare for that, we're looking that most of that growth is going to be out in an area we call the East Perry Utility District, which is an area northeast of Perry, or downtown Perry, that's basically bordered by Houston Lake, 127, and also the out on 247 spur. There's about 8,600 acres out there that'll be developed. What we're doing right now is planning for the construction of a new sewer main system through there with a wastewater treatment plant. So that'll be going in to accommodate those houses out there, as well as we're working with the county to look at thoroughfares throughout the city of Perry that are going to have to be built to accommodate that. Something we just finished last week, I know I've got 30 seconds, I got about 3 minutes worth left. It's our new water treatment plant. We have just brought on a 2 million gallon water treatment plant at Tucker Road, and that's going to serve multiple generations in that new developed area. So we're very excited about this growth, and we think we're well positioned to serve those new 11,000 homes that will be built out there. Thank you.
Colonel Moore told me earlier today how much he enjoyed last year. Let me say how much we enjoyed you. And Colonel Moore, the first question is, can you address Robbins Air Force Base's economic impact information and its effects on Middle Georgia?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So let me just start by saying Barbara and I are just privileged to be a part of this conversation. It is great to be back a second year as well. And I would agree wholeheartedly. Barbara and I have lived in 14 different communities over the years of a 25-year career, and this really is a special place. You know, for the airmen, the men and women at Robbins Air Force Base, being able to come to a region, a community like this, like Perry, that has such special character, and the quality of life for our airmen means so much. I also like to say that the community is the base and the base is the community. When you have 24,000 people, 17,000 Georgians, right, coming in and out of the base with 6,000 military uniform, many of who are Georgians as well, being able to come to a community that's familiar with huge opportunity, focused on airmen is just fantastic. On the economic impact front, it's a partnership, as you all know, with the community and the region. You know, it's true, the base has a payroll of $1.5 billion, right? But in a $3.38 billion economic development impact over a year, you can see the partnerships in terms of workforce that happen. So $225 million worth of contracts to Houston County alone last year, with about $600 million worth of contracts to Georgia specifically. And then when you think of all the other contracts and companies and the ability to partner with your businesses, the kind of stability that brings to the region and the kind of stability it brings for our airmen and their families. This is a huge integration effort. And I like to say that, you know, it wasn't lost on me when I got here that the focus of the base had to be an Air Force model for mission partner and community integration because of what you folks in this region and in this county do so well. And that is looking for opportunities, planning for opportunities with the base, making sure the readiness and resilience of it are totally focused on. And it's really an incredible partnership. So thank you for letting us be part of it. And I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you, Colonel Moore. Chairman Stalnaker, tell us the status of the capital projects Houston County is currently engaged in, especially the state court and government building.
Larry, I'd be glad to, but you gave me 2 minutes, and that takes 2 hours to do all that now.
We'll call you Donald Trump.
Okay. Before I start that, I got 2 things I want to do. One, I want to acknowledge one of our commissioners. This is also his last time that he will be at this function in the capacity that he's in today as your county, one of your county commissioners. I've had the honor to work for him. I've had the honor to work with him. I don't know of any individual that's more dedicated to the citizens of this county than Tom McMichael. And he is here, and I'm going to ask him to stand, but I'm going to ask everybody else to stand and give him a round of applause. Thank you very much, and I'd like to acknowledge Commissioner Robinson being here, Commissioner Walker, and Commissioner Thompson could not be here today. I welcome Commissioner Byrd and Commissioner View on board. Look forward to them. I've got a bottle of sanitizer if somebody wants to come by and use some of it, and we might be able to get some more. You see, Mark Byrd. So he might have enough to go around at some time. As far as Larry is concerned, I heard that same thing last year that this is going to be my last year. Well, I got to tell you, there's enough people in this room to draft him today and vote him back in so he'll be here next year. And if all of you want to see him come back, I'm going to ask you to give him a round of applause, and he'll come back.
afraid that 10 of y'all didn't clap. I saw you.
Now for the question. A couple things that I want to tell you about. The new courthouse for the state court is, it has been in progress for a long time. We plan on breaking ground on December the 17th. It will be a 45,000 square foot building. It will be built adjacent to the existing Superior Court building. All the state court functions will move there. It will be a 2-story building. It's going to have 2 courtrooms, and all the support staff will be in the lower level of that building. We are anxiously ready to get started on that one. You'll see ground broken shortly after December the 17th, and that building will be occupied sometimes in 2022, hopefully by mid-year 2022. It'll be about a year and a half to build that facility. One of the things that's amazing to the building is the tunnel underground that will connect the building to the Superior Court building. Also, we was in negotiations a number of months ago with the city of Perry. They had desires to occupy the old courthouse. We have entered into an agreement for a transaction there. We've got to be out of that courthouse by December 31st, 2021. We are building a new government building. It's on Kings Chapel Road. It's adjacent to the purchasing warehouse, right across the street from the jail and the courthouse. It's a 20,000 square foot building, about $3.6 million. And those of you that have gone to the old courthouse to vote, you'll have a different environment in voting because there will be a huge multi-purpose room, almost the size of this one in that building. So it'll be plenty of room to be able to set up voting machines and go in there and vote. But we're looking forward to both of those projects. There are many, many more vertical construction projects we've got ongoing as well as horizontal. So maybe I have a chance to tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Tom. Angie Gheesling, what's the #1 challenge facing industry today, and how is the authority responding?
Well, besides COVID, and I will mention that our industry has fared very well in this county. I'm very proud at how they have responded and protected their employees, but believe it or not, they have continued to hire through this and are still hiring by large numbers. So that has not slowed us down as much as just thinking about the overall idea of recruiting in and retaining a quality workforce. I'm not just saying workforce, I'm saying quality workforce. And that's not so much an issue in Houston County, but you have to keep in mind that we're in a regional employment hub. And we have to look to the other counties around us, who, by the way, are predicted to lose population in the next 10 years. We'll be the only county that's gaining population. And just like with the city of Perry, this county is predicted to be number 10 in population growth by 2030. So we have to look out to these other communities and help to bring them along the way with cultivating a quality workforce to respond as well. So the Middle Georgia region, we have in the 11 counties we call a region. The lead economic developers have a group called the Middle Georgia Economic Alliance, or MEGIA. We've been meeting for 12 to 13 years and tackling things as a group instead of one at the time, trying to take on these issues. We hired a project manager a couple of years ago. Not everybody is as fortunate as we are here to have an expert like Becky Lee on staff. So it's been very meaningful to have this person that's working on behalf of our smaller communities, some who don't even have staff. And what he's been able to do is make these connections between education and industry. So instead of education having to guess what they need to be teaching to respond to industry needs, there now is a great collaboration, and I'm so proud of what's going on here, and thank you, David McDermott. You've been at the head of that, and I appreciate your leadership there. So I mentioned last year Youth Science, which is the aptitude assessment that's done within our school system, and every school system in the state of Georgia has that opportunity. We have almost every county in our region on board with this assessment. It allows us to be matchmakers. So now we're able to take industry that have certain job opportunities, put them in front of students who do have a high aptitude for these jobs, and do some real work there in making career possibilities happen. Examples of those, we did our second healthcare summit with Houston Healthcare, the school system, and Central Georgia Technical College. As a result of that, where there were no apprentices, there now has been an opportunity for 30 apprentices out of the school system to come there and work alongside these folks. And then also at Robins Air Force Base, we took 150 students there. So we hope to pick this up post-pandemic and get our teachers in industry to see exactly what goes on within the walls and not guess about that, and continue to strengthen that across the region.
Thank you, Angie. Dr. Mark Scott, this has been an unusual start to the school year, given the challenges brought about by COVID-19. How has the pandemic affected enrollment, academic performance, employee recruitment and retention, and the number of students attending school face-to-face?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for Fred Wilson, our board chair, for being here. And we found out earlier today that our board is one of 5 districts in the running for Governor's Team of the Year, which means our board is in the running for Governor's Team of the Year. So that would be a nice finishing touch to being the best employer in Georgia. So congratulations to Mr. Wilson and the board members. Enrollment has been an issue for all districts across the state of Georgia, and we have seen a dip in enrollment here in Houston County. We're just under 30,000 students, and you may remember last year that I reported that we had gone over 30,000, and so we did see about a 500 student drop. We started school this year with approximately 70% of our students in face-to-face instruction and 30% choosing digital learning. We've had an open enrollment period after the first 9 weeks, and we saw about 1,000 students, elementary students, come back. And so we're now at a 75-25 split. And March the 12th through March the 19th is an open enrollment period for, excuse me, I said March. I was thinking about March and what had started in March. November the 12th through November the 19th, we have an open enrollment for all students, and it's the last opportunity to come back face-to-face or to change your learning option. We feel like a lot of our students will return to the classroom. So we're kind of scrambling around, and I know some of our legislators are here, and that's one of the things that's big on our mind is the impact that it'll have on our funding going forward with us losing students, and so we're certainly worried about that. But the pandemic has caused us some issues with employees, and some of our employees that were at risk or had family members that were at risk, and so we've continued to struggle with substitute teachers, finding substitute teachers. Bus drivers has been another area that we've struggled with. Thankfully, we're fully staffed with our teaching, our certified people, and so that is a plus for us. One thing that I did want to point out is that back in March when we started, we were shut down and had to pivot pretty quickly. We were very worried about our students and what they were doing and really what kind of loss of achievement we would have. And so we're very proud to say that using the MAP assessment, which is a nationwide assessment, we've been able to identify that our students outpaced the nation in retention of learning and what took place over the spring. So we're very happy with that. Unfortunately, we also found out that our students who scored the lowest prior to the pandemic are the ones who chose to stay digital learning, and so the ones who are ill-equipped to do so. And so I think that's our biggest challenge going forward, is how to really address those issues and really work with those parents and be flexible and gracious enough to meet those students where they are.
Thank you, sir. This is for Mayor Walker. How has COVID-19 impacted Perry, and what are the plans moving forward?
Well, like everyone else in this room, it's had a significant impact on the city of Perry. There's no question about that. And since March, our major focus has been how do we protect the citizens and the employees of the city of Perry, at the same time continuing to supply the quality of service that each and every citizen expects us to do each and every day, and serving their needs from the city. It has required us to do some really effective and efficient things to deliver city services in a different way. and we've been able to do that. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to meet Jack. He is our ATM payment machine on the parking lot of the city, and that's probably one of the best investments that we have made last year, was because Jack will take payment in cash or check or money order or anything that you want to give him. So it helped with our collections, and so it was a good investment for us last year during this time. One of the major issues we've had to deal with is, how do you keep your public safety employees safe? And that's really difficult because their job exposes them each and every day a minimum of 12 hours. And we've worked very, very diligently with our public safety team to put procedures in place to protect them. And they've worked effectively because we have not had a COVID-19 work-related illness in the city of Peoria, we're proud to say. Financially, the major impact we had is the hotel motel tax impact. With us canceling a large number of events that we have in the city, as well as the fairgrounds canceling a large number of events they have, as well as people not traveling, it has had a major impact on the city and the financial income as far as the hotel motel tax is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Colonel Moore, during last year's State of the Community, you spoke about priorities for the base and how community integration was an important goal for you. Please give us an update.
Thank you, sir. So many things to think about in terms of integration, right? I mean, to start with, what's all on our minds in terms of the base is obviously the partnership with the industrial authorities, and initiated some of the work under General Retired John Q. Bennick, and now in concert with 21st Century Partnership. When you think about the growth enterprise in all facets of integration, the industrial complex is part of that. So some great efforts already in work and continuing to develop in priority under General Hammerstead's leadership. When we think about, project synergy and software growth and what that might mean, as well as other industrial growth opportunities. We have to make sure on the installation side that the digital transformation that we're experiencing is in line with that development. And I'll talk about that in a second. But then on other lines of effort in terms of integration, I mentioned the quality of life aspects of what this region brings. So all of that coming into focus over the last year, complicated by COVID, obviously, is really important. The installation has really honed in on 3 major campaigns, okay? And the first campaign we focused on, and I'll talk to, is kind of base defense and readiness, right? And when I talk readiness, that includes resilience. So some great integration with the region in terms of power, right? And solar array type activities and some things like that. Great integration on security. We're looking at base defense opportunities for contracts in terms of cameras, fire, search and rescue, potentially even cyber type security aspects. And there's great opportunity there that we're seeing unfold. And then our second campaign really is digital transformation under the Air Base wing. There's so many lines of effort as we go through this pandemic, and how it rearranges the need for communication and connection. I'm sure you're feeling it in some of your industries and businesses as well. Whether it's just simply communication in CVR, Zoom, the ability to dial in on meetings, or whether we're talking about other digital transformation in terms of virtual reality type training. There's so many opportunities, and we've got multiple lines of effort that we're working through, keying in on, and I think that's going to pay right back to, regional software development and what that means for connection there. So lots of great opportunities. And then lastly, for the airmen, the men and women that come in and out of the base, we've started a HOPE campaign, and that's not just a word, although it is the right philosophy, but it's an acronym. Help exists, opportunities exist, people care and expect greatness, and we put action behind that. There's saving purpose. In terms of all the fear and anxiety, there's liberating action that we're putting behind it, and there's unbreakable commitment. The helping agencies on the base, whether it's mental health chaplains, or in the community, which are directly tied to it through the school systems, the counties, the medical professionals. There's connection here that needs to be expanded upon, and like no time before, as people are more sequestered, if you will, and our airmen are more sequestered, this HOPE campaign is increasingly relevant. So those are the integration efforts. There's so much more that we need to do to continue to take care of the base and the region together, but those are focus areas that we're really hitting on and will continue to develop in the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Chairman Stalnaker, SPLOST. What is the status of the 218 SPLOST revenues? When did the 218 SPLOST begin? When did it begin? When does it end? Has the COVID-19 affected the sales tax revenues?
Well, it began on October 2018, October 1st, 2018. It will terminate in 24, in the end of September of 2024. That's when it terminates. I will tell you, I was somewhat surprised. No, I wasn't somewhat, I was real surprised of the condition of the sales tax, not only in this county, but this state. Because when the COVID first hit, all of us started retracting, particularly in county government. County commissioners, I know Mr. Holland and I started talking about it, what was we going to do for reductions. But pleasantly, and Dr. Scott and Mayor Walker concurs with this, because Dr. Scott and them get 2 pennies, and they have seen the same thing. So what I'm saying, our sales tax in this county has surpassed any former year. We continue to exceed in sales tax revenues. We are averaging about $200,000 a month more in revenues from sales tax than we had the previous year, or since October of 18. It has continued to increase to our surprise. But then you talk to some people, there's some business people in this room, they'll say they've had some of the best year, or this year has been one of the best years they've ever had in the business. Extremely busy. Some businesses have not been as fortunate. I think there's a lot of online sales that have generated this sales tax money and continues to generate it. So I have been pleasantly surprised and pleased of where we at with the sales tax. I hope it continues. I think it will. It shows that we have a very strong economy here, and one of the reasons we have that economy is because of the base, Colonel Moore, and the operations on Robbins Air Force Base, and the people that are employed at Robbins and the contracts that they do. That is one of the reasons. But I will tell you, there's some rural counties right around us, sales taxes better than it was the previous year. So it's not just this county, and it's not just urbanized counties. But we as a state ought to be very blessed with the sales tax revenues that are coming in. And I can tell you, those of us in leadership positions in Houston County are extremely pleased with the sales tax that is coming in. Thank each and every one of you for that.
Thank you, Tommy. Angie, Gheesling, what's the latest good news from our existing industries?
Well, I have to say, it's been, just like last year, it's been another banner year for our Houston County industries. It's also been another banner year for the state of Georgia, so they're kind of easy to follow. They were just named for the 7th consecutive year the best place in the country to do business. And we're very fortunate here that we have someone with the Department of Economic Development who does support us in all of these great expansions, and that's Candace Scott. So I want to thank her wherever she is. Also, just want to talk about what this year has looked like. If you combine the years 2019 and where we are in 2020, there have been over 2,000 jobs created by our industry. This is not counting small business, this is just the industry that we support and work alongside. And this investment totals over $640 million. That's outstanding, truly outstanding. 5 of these industries that expanded are located in Perry. I like to remind everybody that 80% of the new jobs that are created in our country by industry come from our existing companies. It's great to land the new big industry and have the big celebration, but honestly, our priority has to be to protect those that we have here. I also like to point out that expansions are very competitive in nature. 2 of these that we won were terribly competitive. They come from large corporations. We were competing against 4 and 5 other locations. All had the building capacity to do these expansions, but Houston County. And they chose us anyway. And you might ask, what's the differentiator here? And if you ask those companies, they're going to tell you it's the workforce. And it's the performance of the workforce every time that assists them in landing these new projects. But most importantly, it's about our community leadership. And I have to tell you, in my experience in working statewide, if your community leadership is not working together, you no longer receive new opportunities to bring new industry into a community. And here is absolutely remarkable. If you think about, there are 3 cities and a very strong county government that are able to align themselves, no matter where we're locating these new jobs, and make these a success. It's really something to feel great about. They're not one without the city and the county, and most especially the Board of Education for being a party to this. This also includes a very strong leadership team that I work under, and I can't go without mentioning them. I'm so glad that a lot of them are here today. Our chairman is Ben Holbert, vice chairman is Mark Bird, and commissioner-elect. Scott Cox is our secretary-treasurer, and long-standing board member and past chairman, Neil Towton, is also here as well. So I don't think we do this enough, so if y'all will, just join me in thanking all of them for what they do to make us successful.
Thank you, Angie. Dr. Scott, voters in Houston County have been very supportive of the East Floss as a means of funding capital improvement projects for the school district. Would you please update us on the current East Floss projects?
Yes, sir. And before I start that, Tommy mentioned that we get 2 of the pennies that's collected in sales tax. And I just remind everybody that Houston County is one of the counties that gets a loss tax, which means that if you recently got your property tax bill, you will see on there a direct rollback from that collection. So when that sales tax collection goes up, the break that you get on your property taxes goes up as well. So that's a great thing for subsequent years. So just wanted to mention that. We are wrapping down our 2017 East Floss project. Believe it or not, in March of 2016, we passed the referendum. So this March will be 5 years since our last East Floss election. And we've had a lot of projects going on. Right next door is the competition gym for Perry High School. We've been able to complete 2 other competition gyms at Warner Robins High School and Northside High School. Also during this time frame, we've been able to renovate and remodel a lot of our theaters in our high schools, including Perry High School, Northside High School, and Warner Robins High School. And we currently have a project underway at Houston County High School to remodel their theater. And we'll be looking at beginning the competition gymnasium at Houston County High School late in the spring. We also just had the ribbon cutting for Bonnier Primary School that we built out on Thompson Mill Road. And that project was completed this past summer, and we're very proud of that project. We've got several projects that are coming about into this cycle, and the major project there that we will be taking to our board next week for approval for a GMP on is the addition at Veterans High School for a classroom addition and for a multi-purpose gymnasium there, which will be over 118,000 square foot addition to that school. It is in one of the, and then we will also have 2 roofing projects, one to replace the roof at David Perdue Elementary. Believe it or not, it's been around long enough to have a roof replaced. And then also at our Houston County Career Academy, we're excited. That's a property that we share with Central Georgia Technical College, and they've been a great partner with that, and so we'll be replacing the roof over there. So we've got a lot of projects still outstanding as we wind down this East Floss cycle.
Thank you. Mayor Walker, how has Perry maintained quality of life during the pandemic?
Let me start off by complimenting our staff. those of you who live in Perry, you have an outstanding workforce that are doing a lot of things each and every day in the face of this pandemic. And so I have been very, very pleased with what I've seen. And again, like I had mentioned, because of the cautions we have taken, we have not had any employees to really have work-related COVID disease. So we're very excited about that. But as far as quality of life, all of you have heard me talk about that and how important we think that is here in the city of Perry. And of course, we were extremely disappointed because we have got new parks that we want to show off. We got new amphitheaters that we want to show off, and none of that was able to do. Our program was supposed to start with a brand new international festival in March, and needless to say, we had to cancel that, and we've canceled all other events throughout the year, including the buzzard drop over New Year's Eve, and so we've really been disappointed with that. But speaking of a staff, they did not let that get in their way. The first thing that they thought about was, okay, let's use our social platforms to get out there and really do some innovative things. And so they've had scavenger hunts, and they've had dance parties, and they even had the exciting night of bingo with the mayor. And so we've tried to do things like that. But once they lifted the shelter in place, they looked for ways to go outside in our park areas. And so we've had things like the chalk walk, and we've had Hallow Waletka this last weekend with all kinds of ghosts and goblins and doing things like that. But they've also looked at various ways of bringing back Food Truck Friday. So we have spread what we call the grub crawl throughout the city. So we've had a lot of events in spite of the restraints that we've been under. But you know, quality of life does not just mean us having a good time outside. A lot of people have issues within the quality of their life, substandard housing that they live in, not having adequate heat, not having adequate water or bathrooms in their houses. So we have stayed focused on our housing initiative, and I'm proud to announce today that we've been granted the 4th year in a row block grants and CHIP grants in excess of over $1 million to go towards home improvements in the Creekwood area. So quality of life here we're still continuing to work with, and we're looking for maybe a new vaccine that will give us a robust 2021.
Thank you, Mayor. Colonel Moore, COVID-19 has affected the nation, states, and communities like Perry. I had Robbins Air Force Base dealt with the coronavirus pandemic.
Thank you, sir. So I will tell you, and I think you know, the workforce and the airmen on Robbins Air Force Base are a national treasure. And so when the pandemic hit in early March, out of an abundance of caution and through a level of unified effort across the base and with city and local officials, the mayors, the chairman, you know, there was a lot of coordination and effort to protect the most vulnerable, and out of abundance of caution, basically the base, you know, really in many ways reduced capability and capacity significantly. But I will also tell you that because of the focus and that kind of communication, we were also the first to return to full capacity across the major command and potentially in the greater Air Force. So you don't do that with 24,000 people and 54 mission partners and all the things that go in and the mission sets that happen on that base without great alignment and unity. Not lost on me the prayer that was offered earlier about unity, because that is exactly right for the base too. And we've been able to maintain that for the last 8 months. I will tell you though, this is a long game. You know, we recognize that. While we protected the most vulnerable, there's still a significant balancing effort that takes place every day and in a continuous manner to balance mission requirements with protection, with resilience of our airmen, with safety, and all the things you folks are thinking about in terms of your business operations and community as well. It's a concerted effort, and so being able to do that and work with local mayors and the chairman so closely in the schools and the industrial authority has made all the difference, where I would suggest to you that Robbins has set the tempo for much of the rest of the Air Force. So thank you all for that. Thanks for the support and the focus on our airmen. Let me just add one other thing, that I would say, focus has not been lost on retirees and veterans as well. And because that's a significant part of this community as well as the base. And there's challenge there, right, in terms of understanding what retirees and veterans need in relation to keeping the base running, whether it's the commissary or financial or even the gym. There's a lot to consider with a lot of different interests and equities and priorities that all have to be aligned. And your team at Robbins, with your help, has done a great job, and will continue to keep that fine balance and focus as we also look forward to a vaccine and getting that fielded to protect everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Moore, and thank you for being with us today. Chairman Stalnaker, 2 subjects. One is roads. Tell us about Lake Joy Road, Houston Lake Road, Moss Oaks Road, Thompson Mill Road, the status of them, and any other roads you might want to mention. And then if you would, give us your philosophy about why we've had so much growth in Houston County over the past few years.
Okay, let me start with the roads. As most of you know, Thompson Mill Road is completed. It was completed in conjunction with the opening of the school. We were pleased to be able to make that timeline. Lake Joy Road, if you travel Lake Joy Road, you'll notice the first half of it is already complete. We're going to let the second half, the first part of 2021, which will come on down to 127, that will be 3-lane curb and gutter with a center turn lane in it. We're excited about that. The first leg of it from Sanford down to Langston, though, was a lot more than we'd anticipated. That particular road was a little over $8 million to widen that road. Hopefully the prices will be compressed somewhat. The length of it is not as far as like 1 3/10 from Langston on down to 127. We're excited about that one. 127, Houston Lake Road, as so many people call it, but from the public shopping center or the bypass, there where the public shopping center is, that will be widened 3 lanes all the way into King's Chapel. From King's Chapel on down in front of the Stanley Furniture Store, it's already 3 lanes, so it will tie into that 3-lane section. We're moving along pretty well. We're ready to start securing right away. We've had a small hiccup with the state. Hopefully that's going to get resolved in the very near future, that we can continue moving forward with that particular road. I'll tell you about a road. We talked very briefly about it last year. Mayor Walker and I have been involved in this, and I think it is vitally important for not only Houston County but the city of Perry. That's the extension of St. Patrick's Drive. It would continue on over and come out on the Thompson Road, on the bypass over where Thompson Road intersects with it. That would open up an awful lot of industrial and retail properties for the future growth of not only Perry but Houston County, and I think that is vitally important. The right-of-ways have been secured. We're looking for funding sources now to begin that project, as well as on Perimeter Road. There will be a tie-in to St. Patrick's off Perimeter Road. So you're looking at tremendous growth in that area in the coming years, and you've got to do something to get that traffic off Sam Nunn Boulevard. Don't you going to be like some of the other roads in this county. It's going to be bumper to bumper, and you're not going to be able to move if something's not done like that to alleviate, give people another alternative to move around. But that's a good project. I know Mayor Walker and them support that, and there's been a good bit of work already done on that. We're looking forward to it. Many more that's ongoing, but in essence of time, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Tommy. Angie, Gheesling, I understand that there's been a regional planning effort underway. I think you mentioned it earlier. Tell us about the action plan and where things are today.
So another grant that we have received is through the Office of Economic Adjustment through the Department of Defense, and these are given in communities where there are large military installations. We finished up one project in early 2019, going through a planning process with the 11 counties, which most of you, I think, participated in. We've been very fortunate to capture more of that funding and use the recommendations that came from that process and go into what we are now calling the Middle Georgia Innovation Project. That's being supported by the Development Authority, the Department of Economic Development, the 21st Century Partnership, the Middle Georgia Regional Commission, and of course McGee, our 11 county organization. So through the first effort, instead of focusing on what is wrong, because I've done far too many of those exercises, we decided to focus on what is right and what is the differentiator for our region, particularly around Robins Air Force Base. And so we discovered that the strength and the diversity of our educational institutions and K through 12 systems was really what stood out for us and what we could capitalize on. And we also learned that innovation is actually occurring throughout all of these industries, home base and in our businesses. However, we have not been fully capitalizing on these assets. So we had to think, how are we going to pool these resources and support current businesses and bring in future companies? So we're charged with not only building a culture and spreading the word that Middle Georgia is positioning itself as a software center of excellence, falling in line with Robins Air Force Base being also considered a software center of excellence. So what's happened so far since we stopped this first part of the process in 2019? Well, our higher ed institutions have continued to be at the table and to collaborate. Discussions are centered on software, which is a huge strength, of course, as we've mentioned at Robins, and innovation. There are partnerships that have announced, beginning with Central Georgia Tech and the partnership with Robins Air Force Base and Robins North, followed by Mercer's partnership with Blue Sky Innovation Center in downtown Macon. Then Middle Georgia State University came up to the occasion and did a partnership with Robins and opened their software center for their Center for Software Innovation. But the one I'm most proud of, and the one I want to be sure to get to before my time runs out, is Project Synergy, which has already been mentioned, and I have to thank Colonel Moore for his leadership in this process. So, first of all, I have to recognize General John Kabinick, and I'm so glad he's here. We all know that General Kabinick has retired, and yes, I will continue to call you General, even though I have been cautioned that that's not appropriate maybe any longer. It is for me. Fortunately, he stepped into the role at the 21st Century Partnership to lead efforts there, and this is a really good time for me to also thank Chrissy Miner for her great work at the partnership and all that she has done there and continues to do with this effort. So John Kabinick, he accomplished many great things over his career, but I think that he really went out with a bang with Project Synergy. He expressed the need for space in order to bring in over 200 new, this was not shifted people off base, these were new software engineering jobs. And if you think about it, and those of you who have been here longer than I think that this is probably the first time this community was really asked for something really of this nature, somewhere to really help. We ask all the time, but I think that we were most excited that this was a place where maybe we could help. And so we responded as a community with that space, and I have to tell you that this is the quickest I have ever seen a project turn around in all of my years of work in economic development, especially one of this scope. And I have to attribute this to the leadership of Chairman Stalnaker and have to thank him for leading us in the success. We didn't stop here. The vision was not complete. We can't continue to bring in these type of jobs and other companies that might follow if we don't have the workforce in place to respond. So, as usual, the Houston County school system and Dr. Scott stepped up and saw where there was a place for the Houston County Career Academy to take on this new focus in developing students and to take in these software engineering jobs of the future. So within Project Synergy, if you don't know, there's also going to be a lab there for the College and Career Academy. And the great upside to this is that they'll get to work alongside Robins software engineers. And also, we've had another partner. You've heard me mention all of these great higher ed institutions. Middle Georgia State University is going to come in and partner curriculum has been put together in an amazing amount of time, right, David? And we are ready to respond to those jobs and what they need. The other great thing that's come out of this is their internship opportunities, once again, for our high school students at Robins Air Force Base. And those are just now being interviewed and lined up for these great opportunities. I also have to mention that this is not only something we have been proud of locally and we've touted locally, it's been recognized in essence internationally, at least nationally, by the International Economic Development Council. We received the Silver Award at their last annual meeting for this effort. So Project Synergy is something you're going to continue to hear. It's not just the name of a building. It's going to have to be and will be a way that we do business in this community. And even though we've had our first physical location to occur in one of Robins, there are opportunities across this county, including most especially Perry, who's perfectly positioned for the ever-expanding demand for quality of life. Just to echo what's been said by the mayor, and just to tell you how important that is. So we're really excited about the future, if you can't tell.
Thank you, Angie. Dr. Mark Scott, a referendum for a new East Splosh to be on the ballot in 2021, as I understand it. What are the main projects to be included in this East Splosh campaign?
Well, and I'll say up front that although we've been discussing it for quite some time, our board has not approved an official referendum, so they do have the authority to change anything I might say today, so I'll give you that disclaimer. But I would say the first project on the list is the Veterans Middle School. I think that's been talked about since the day Veterans High School opened, and we've not determined the exact location of that school yet, but it will be feeding or serving that particular attendance zone. And we're also in the Perry area around Langston Elementary School and Matt Arthur Elementary School looking for an opportunity to possibly open additional primary school or elementary school yet to be determined. And those are certainly large projects and will consume a lot of the East Splosh going forward. But we were very fortunate that we were approved to allow buses and things like that to be part of the East Splosh program. And I know that I've mentioned before that we've got over 200 buses, and if you buy 10 buses a year, you are replacing them about every 20 years, and not many people in here are driving a 20-year-old vehicle. So you can imagine what a bus looks like or rides like that's been 20 years old. So to say that, we've got 67 buses right now that are 19 years or older. So we've got some work to do, and we hope to make some progress with that in our immediate budget and moving forward with the East Splosh. So that will certainly be included in our referendum. And then we also have a vision, a long-term vision for a performing arts center in Houston County. And I've approached the mayors and the county commission about the possibility of them maybe later in their next Splosh campaign, as the chairman's already mentioned, is in 2024, that they might partner with us. And so the scope of that project will be determined based on whether we're able to garner a partnership with our county and municipalities and really make that a community center that can be used by all. So we're really excited about that. We're also eligible for a lot of renovation, remodeling, what they call modifications and renovations in our schools that will include lighting, HVAC, flooring material, paint, those kinds of projects across our district. And one of the modifications that would be included in the 2022 East Splosh would be some work at Perry High School. We've got a couple additions in Perry High School that really were not built for the size the school is now. They're very narrow halls, and so we need to address some of those issues. And then just about every school in our community has some eligible project that will be included, and we will be leveraging state dollars against those East Splosh dollars. So what that means is that we would also be eligible to receive some state fund to support those projects, and so that we're not solely purchasing those. And I would say that for the buses, we do get some state funds for buses. This past year, we were eligible for 4 buses. As I mentioned, you really need to be buying 10 or 15 buses a year. However, those buses, we get about $77,000. The last buses we purchased, we paid $106,000 for a 72-passenger bus. 72-passenger bus with the lifts, $120,000, and the All-American bus, or the big flat-nose buses that you see that are 84 passengers, those are $132,000. So you can see those dollars have to have some local effort to go along with them to accomplish those goals. And so we will be looking to go into our civic organizations and throughout our community to share more in detail our SPLOST referendum. But I would want to say that just thank you for our voters who have strongly supported our eSPLOST, and in a growing community, it would be very difficult to fund the projects and the kinds of things that you need to do when you have 39 schools to be able to keep up just by using property taxes. So thank you to the taxpayers for supporting that.
Thanks to all of you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you agree with me that we've got some of the outstanding public officials in the country, and when you top it off with Robbins Air Force Base and what they mean to our economy, we live in one of the best places in Georgia. And if you agree with me, let's give these people a real good time. I assume that we're through. They say that we're through. Good. Thank you all for coming.